Morning, everyone. Seth's not able to join us, so I'm going to run the meeting this morning. So we'll start out on the agenda with any announcements from the group.
Happy New Year.
Under old business, Michelle did distribute the minutes. If there are any changes, additions, deletions, or updates to the minutes, please let us know. Morning. And if not, I'd take a motion to accept
to approve the minutes.
Steve, thank you.
I'll second it.
Dan, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Great. Going on to new business. Election of new officers.
Well, Ed Wagner and I were on the nominating committee, and we've had some conversations. Ani Fish, who is online, has agreed to step in as chair of the WQMA, as long as Michelle stays as her helpmate. And actually, Seth Jensen has agreed to be vice chair. So we have a smooth transition there. So I would put forth the nomination of Ani Fish as chair and Seth Jensen as vice chair as a motion.
Because he's not here, or because he wanted to?
No, we did speak about it.
Steve, motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? Thank you, Ani, and also Seth.
Yeah, I should probably go to Disney just so there's a little bit of comfort.
I mean, you go from seconding to voting against it. It's always
It's
always an interesting switch. Hey, you can do it if you want. Other new business. The letter of support was distributed yesterday, Michelle.
Yes.
For the FLX PFAS project grant proposal. Did anyone get a chance to read that? Does anybody need a brief description from Michelle on that? Would that be helpful for the group?
I'll just read letter of support. It's for Dr. Habling with it's a grant proposal to the New York State Water Resources Institute. The letter reads, on behalf of the Cayuga County Water Quality Management Agency, I would like to express our support for your recent proposal to the New York State Water Resources Institute FLX PFAS project, targeted water sampling to identify sources of per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, in the Finger Lakes. The proposed project, including potential sampling locations in Cayuga County and community education outreach on PFAS, would meaningfully contribute to the charge of the WQMA of providing an effective public understanding of support for water quality management in Cayuga County. Outreach and stakeholder engagement through the WQMA could include a presentation to our members and a research feature article in our blog and/or newsletter developed in collaboration with the Cayuga Lake Watershed Network. Thank you to the New York State Water Resources Institute for offering grant opportunities to support this work.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions, further comments on the letter as drafted?
Just not on this particular project, but maybe Ani and Michelle have come up with some guidelines on how far in advance these letters should be submitted. That would be good. Getting it that, in the afternoon, the day before the meeting, doesn't really give us a whole lot of time to digest it.
And I've always asked for it a week in advance, but I usually never get it a week in advance.
So from a board perspective, if it's something that you think the board needs to digest, you could either abstain from voting, or you could vote to table until a time when more research could be done on it. I don't know how it affects the turnaround of this particular one, but that is a common vehicle for being able to do due diligence on anything that comes before the board and is looking for approval from the group too. So actually, any one of those would be an option.
And I think they needed it by, of course, January 26th.
Understand that when it comes to grants.
Where are they suspecting the PFAS to be coming from that they're looking into? Do they have like a consideration of that?
They had a map with sampling locations, but I don't know if that is related directly to outputs or anything like that. I just glanced at it. That's what I saw.
I don't know, to be really clear, I don't know the answer to that. I do know that one of the sources that one of the concerns about PFAS is the sewage treatment plants. There's real concerns about what's happening with some of the processing, for example. So that's, I don't know, and my understanding of this is they don't know. That's why they're doing research and they really need to do it. That's my understanding. But I know that septic, it's not, come on, sewage treatment. It's too early in the morning for me. And that's not true. I've been up a long time. I just had some stuff I had to do this morning and it's confused me. but sewage treatment plants are one of the things that are of great concern to us. That I can tell you.
Yeah. There's a map here. It says location of water features, fire training sites, airports, wastewater treatment plants, landfills, and chemical storage facilities. So I'm just kind of going up the quick assumption that must be what the areas.
That's my
so I know some of the farm districts they had a couple of farms with high levels on the ground and it came from sewage treatment sludge.
I think one of the things that I thought was attractive is that it's something that it's an important. These are forever chemicals. That's the issue with these things. They never go away, and so it's important to kind of locate where they're coming from to the extent we can and do that. And it's one of the few things that comes from this group that does not involve agriculture, which I thought was, quite frankly, it's kind of good. It's not agricultural product. It's not cow manure. It's not agricultural chemicals, as far as I know, anyway. And no more. There's no PFAS consideration with any of this.
The PFAS is from in Maine. We're coming from Boston, sewage treatment plant. They have like a 500-foot methane digesters, like 4 or 5 of them from the whole sewage system in Boston. They think it was coming from industries in Boston, but it's always hard to tell. It's in clothing, it's in lots of consumer products too. But they didn't realize it when they were setting it up, and the farmers in Maine got it for years before they started thinking about PFAS. That was the trouble. It's nice. It was like a composted processed sewage product, except for the PFAS is okay, but that's a problem.
Carl, I don't know if you had something you wanted to
add. I just wanted to react to the question because I had the same when I was reading that document last night. Not so much for the request for support for the grant application, but just wondering if we around the table shouldn't be more informed about a problematic molecule or molecules like, and every time I read it in the lay press, I'm concerned about it, but I don't know really what to do about it. At a table like this where we may have something to do about it, maybe we should know about it. And I don't know if I don't read the literature that Michelle reads, but maybe the state in some fashion has a top 10 problems they're concerned about. So when somebody writes an application like this, we know, this is important and we should consider it if it pops up at this table. So this is kind of a global reaction that I had to it. It's something I wanted to know more about, but I haven't concentrated my efforts in discovering more about that, But is that the first time? That's the first time I remember this subject coming up at this table.
I know we've mentioned it on and off.
Yeah, I can touch on this a little bit if you guys can hear me. So there's a bunch of rules coming down from EPA on maximum contaminant levels of the PFOS and PFAS in drinking water. And so now there's also there's a bill out in the state Senate right now for sampling of pretty much anyone with a speedies permit through DEC and industrial wastes going to wastewater treatment plants. And what was the other one? To sample for PFAS. and see where it's coming from, because we have all these rules coming down to reduce the amount in drinking water, but we're not entirely sure where a lot of it is coming from. So since the wastewater treatment plants obviously discharge into water bodies that end up as our drinking water supplies, we have to look into that. So I think it's more of a reaction to the rules that are coming forth on the state and federal level. So yeah, but it's definitely something that's coming forth very soon from the federal government and from the state government as well.
Are those molecules found in fire retardants?
Yes, they are in firefighting foam. There's been cases and Teflon, things that are resistant to extremely high temperatures because they have such a long polymer chain that they are able to, I guess, I'm not a chemist at all, to suppress the heat and the fire, to make things not melt and to just put out the fire itself. So that's why we're so concerned if there's a fire on the lake or something, what chemical is used. A lot of the companies that supply these chemicals, they have like proprietary formulas for what they're using as a fire retardant, which is really concerning to us because they won't tell us what's in it. So we can't tell them if it's appropriate to use on a waterway or not, or near a waterway. But yeah, there's been a lot of issues out in the very, very southern tier by Lake Erie area, like Chautauqua County, with PFAS from firefighting expeditions for a lot of training stuff, ending up in drinking water wells and getting people really sick. Hoosick Falls in New York, on the very eastern end of New York, just northeast of Albany, had a lot of issues. They had a Teflon factory. They made Teflon tape and other Teflon products that contaminated a lot of drinking water wells. So for public water supply and private water supply. So definitely on the radar as one of the top things in terms of drinking water quality right now.
Thank you.
You can get it without PFAS. Yeah.
So this we haven't, we should do that. I will move that we approve the letter. I just think we did that.
Have a motion.
We have not. So Mr. Bamman's proposing a motion to support the letter. Is there a second?
Well, second.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain?
I'm abstaining,
Abstain.
just on the process
Yep.
issue.
So that passes, and we will, Michelle will continue to process that. Thank you. I think there's probably also, we're always looking for training opportunities in the future to get some primary source information about PFAS contamination. It's obviously something that we're going to hear more about. If there's more regulation there, we might want to maybe back up and have a real 101 course on that, on its effect and some anecdotal examples of how it's been discovered. So
If he gets this grant, there'll be outreach and education, so we can just.
we can tag on to that and help with that. Okay.
I think it'd be good, especially if it's found in sludge. I mean, it's a concern. Wasn't the state considering allowing sludge to be respread on agricultural land too? So that becomes a thing, and this is a PFAS. We don't want to get in on our food supply and all that. So.
That was a concern that the QIO, I think they wrote a letter to the state about the concern of spreading that onto farmland and possibly.
I think that is exactly what we're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So we will continue to seek that information. How about priority working groups, ad hoc committee reports? I'm going to start with communications and outreach.
Okay, so I'm a slacker to be here, and I missed our last meeting. So Michelle.
This is for all of the working groups. Our year-end report is due at the next meeting. I've met with 2 of the groups. I have to still meet with invasive species. I'm just going to read off who's in which group, and if you either want to be added or removed, let me know. So for communications, I have Aaron, Abby, Ani, Adam, Carl, Dan, Liz Thomas, Frank Moses, Grace, Liz Kretinger, Ryan, and Steve. Does anybody want to join?
Can you remove me? I feel like being part of I feel like I'm part of all of the working groups.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people in that one, so.
Okay.
Thanks.
Invasive species. I have Abby, Adam, Amy, Dana, Doug Kirst, Ed, Frank Moses, Janet, Zane, Lisa Kleckner, Phil Harris, and Sam. Okay. And nutrient and sediment, I have Abby, Ani, Dana, Dan, Doug Kirst, Liz Thomas, Frank Clark, Isaiah, Jason Cutterback, Seth, Liz Kretinger, and Tim Schneider. Okay. That's good.
Thank you, Steve.
Michelle, when you finalize that with any new names or anything, could you just maybe send it around to everybody so everybody knows?
Yeah, I would like to send out just to ask if anybody who's not here wants to be.
I mean, the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving down the list to invasive species.
That's not here. I'll be scheduling a meeting just to discuss the work we did this year for this month.
Nutrient sediment.
That's Seth.
Okay. Agency reports. Health department update.
I spoke with Eileen to get an update on the sampling efforts down at Lake Como for the phosphorus removal systems. And unfortunately, Stony Brook had a really difficult time. They came up several times trying to sample. They wanted to install little monitoring wells in between the septic systems and the waterway to pull grab samples, but due to the rocky soils, they could not install these little monitoring wells. So they're interested in looking at a new water body to study, and they're looking at Owasco Lake and I think Cayuga Lake as well. So if anyone from either of those lake associations want to reach out to me and maybe we can sit down and talk to Stony Brook, that would be awesome. And this is for the phosphorus removal systems, piloting those. And what else? I don't really have much else besides that. And I will keep an eye on that Senate bill for the PFAS sampling at the point of treatment works and the speedies permits holders and the industrial discharges, because that is something that I just happened to stumble upon the other day. And then the letter of support came out yesterday. I do want to say thank you for, I'm a little shocked but flattered about the chair thing. So thanks, I guess. And I really appreciate the consideration. And I think that's really it. If anyone has any questions. Oh, excuse me, one more thing. DEC is sending out a 4th round of septic system grant funding. So huge expanded water body list, which is awesome. It is going to include a lot of receiving water bodies for Owasco Lake and Lake Como area and Skinny Atlas Lake. So keep an eye out for some stuff. We'll be emailing around and sending flyers out to anyone that we think would qualify in terms of distance to these water bodies. So that's really exciting that they're expanding the reach to a lot of receiving water bodies, as we know that that's just as important as the lakes themselves. So any questions, let me know.
Good.
Cayuga Lake on that list as well.
I think the question was Cayuga Lake on that list?
Oh yeah, Cayuga Lake has been on the list.
Okay.
And is the Ani, how that it's expanding the distance from the lake? Is that what the expansion is?
Could you hear that question?
No, I didn't.
It's okay. It's the question was, is when you say expanding the program, is it expanding the program in general, or is it the actual radius, like away from the water body, that's expanding?
So both, sort of. 250 feet from one of the listed water bodies, unless we've determined that the system is reasonably expected to fail and adversely impact the water supply or water body, even if it is more than 250 feet. So we're still looking at, we have a few people out sick right now, but we're still looking at those that may not have qualified in the past, reaching out to them if we feel that they may qualify now due to distance.
Any other questions? If not, thank you.
Thanks.
Parks Department update. So we're closing in on punch list up in Sterling. So the Sterling Nature Center, we will be hopefully releasing an opening date for that in the near future. It was a long time coming with a few power. If anybody's had to source a power panel or anything from either Mexico or overseas in the past couple of years, it's been a challenge. I know the city's had some of the same challenges we had. So we've had some equipment delays up there, but we also kind of knew from day one that they were going to take forever to get there. So it's good. It's great to see that building is up and closed. All the finishes are on the inside. They're doing some final connections. That's great. We were able to complete a sewer line replacement at Emerson Park of an undetermined age, probably pre-1920. We obviously found a lot of failures in that system, so we were really happy to replace basically the main sewer effluent that comes out of the park has been replaced up there, which is a big project for us that we've been looking at for several years in order to try to get the equipment in and get the timing right. We obviously have a lot of stuff going on year round there, so that becomes a challenge. So we were able to complete that, which was great. And we're continuing to do, we just received a grant also just on the side, not necessarily water quality, but we did receive a grant from the Emerson Foundation to do 50% design for an amphitheater project out at Deauville Island. So that's been on the table for many, many years. So it's nice to be able to see the beginning of design happen for that. And obviously we look forward to pushing that project down the road. Any questions for our department?
That sewer line, is that the one in the middle of the ball field?
Yeah.
It's like a bomb went off.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's correct. Yeah. The depth of it creates a big scar down the earth when we do it, which is obviously this is the only time of year we can do that. Can't have that happening during Little League games, clearly. So yeah. A very, very old line, very old piece of one of our oldest and honestly the only one that hasn't been touched in an almost indeterminate amount of time. So we've replaced all of the sewer pumping systems within the entire park and resealed all of the vessels and upgraded all of the systems. So that was kind of the last piece of the puzzle that needed to come out. So we make big messes. We don't make little messes. We dig it all up and start over. Any other questions?
Is it separated from stormwater?
Yeah, we didn't, the stormwater, all the stormwater systems within the park, it didn't flow into the most recent iterations within the park, but that section had never been touched, which is ironic because it all flows out of that system, but it was never, it was only taking effluent from our sewer pumping stations.
Right.
Planning Department, Steve?
Okay, the Civil Service Commission approved a revision to our GIS position, just really some of the roles and responsibilities and the grade. So I'll be bringing a resolution in February, sort of changing the authorization from a senior planner GIS analyst to a senior GIS analyst. And hopefully, you know, we get some candidates and we get that position filled. I know that we have signed up for some, you know, in-kind services for some of the grants that we're all looking to do. So it would be good to have somebody in that position and not sort of leaning on the other staff. So that's in the works. The two local waterfront revitalization plans that we have in play right now, they've all been completed and drafted and sent into New York State over a year ago for review, and they're maybe on the second or third chapter review at this point. One is for the combined Fairhaven and Sterling, and one is for the village of Cayuga. We're looking forward to those getting through their reviews so we can start doing projects that are included in them and applying for capital improvement money for the villages and the town. And last but not least, you know, with the approval of the county budget in December, now the next step is all these various contracts we have with FLI or with Citizen Science Institute and so on. We'll be working on the, you know, getting those contracts and getting a resolution in front of the legislature and so on. So that's really what's going on in the department right now.
Great. Any questions for Steve?
Steve, I'm curious about the lake waterfront revitalization planning. As I understand it, the municipalities that abut the lake, Cayuga Lake, are are eligible for that planning exercise. At least that's one criteria.
If they have municipal land on the lake.
Okay. So I'm
As for example, Aurora doesn't really have parcels on the lake, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
They need to be on the lake. Okay. I'm curious, what percentage of the various municipalities around the lake are either underway with a plan or have completed a plan? Is there still like room for growth there for those that?
Union Springs has done a local waterfront revitalization plan. The Wasco was it done under LWRP, wasn't it? The management.
The 9-element plan.
Yeah, the 9-element plan was done under 9E. And then, of course, the Unions, not Union Springs, the Village of Cayuga and the Fairhaven Sterling one.
Okay.
That's it right now.
Yeah. But so there are some remaining. I'm just curious about if there's still room for growth.
Yeah, those are long-term projects. They take almost 2 years to complete. And then if they take almost 2 years to review them, it's kind of,
And there has to be.
I can't tell you how frustrating it is.
There has to be municipally owned land.
Yes.
On the lake. That eliminates, I mean, that's not, most towns don't.
Yeah.
So there's not much room for growth because of that.
Yeah. And they're not primarily about water quality. They're more about sort of community revitalization. But you're required to adopt a whole set of state policies that are, and some of them are protective of water quality and waterfront, but they're also relative to development and relative to access to the waterfront and redevelopment of waterfront and so on. And doing the planning process, it gets approved at the Department of State level and the local level. And then that makes you eligible for capital improvement money. So that's now Union Springs we're starting to do significant capital improvements and getting grants for improvements and things like that in Union Springs. So it's a really good springboard to help revitalize communities that are on the waterfront.
Just for further information on that, because it's bringing to mind some things that are happening in the town of Scipio, because they have 2 parcels. But there has been a request to the town to improve a boat launch area for fire rescue out on the lake whenever there are emergencies. And there have been issues with the local fire department in getting boats onto the water quickly, easily, safely. Is that something?
More than likely, they're getting rid of the boat.
They're going to get rid of the boat? Because you're a fire commissioner.
Not anymore.
Oh, not anymore.
That's 5 days ago.
Oh, all right, all right. No,
I'm counting.
Congratulations.
all right, never mind, that'll be a moot point if they get rid of the boat, but who's gonna?
Right. Well, I would be careful going for a local waterfront revitalization plan for one specific
Township.
issue.
Yeah.
But but that doesn't mean you shouldn't, but it means you should have a sort of a constellation of things that you're looking at in order to really do it. And it's a competitive grant too. That's the other part of it.
And little towns always exclude those. That's a technical term, sorry.
Any other questions for Steve?
Thank you.
Thanks. So on the water?
All right, well, while we're talking about it, and on that subject, we might be able to help with some of that if need be in some of these smaller towns, but they're not listening. But what we always look for actually is access for our offloading of our weeds too. So if it's an area where maybe a municipality or something like that could have trouble accessing an area, and we can also launch a conveyor there and be able to offload some of the weeds, and we can get in there at a certain depth with our boat. Let us know. I mean, we're always looking. Yeah, we were down there years ago and tried to do some stuff, but it might be, maybe it's different now. Yeah,
maybe it needs to be.
But we're always looking for offloading spots. So if there is improved access or municipal or private even areas where maybe a deal could be struck where we can access it, improve a little ramp offloading area, we're only in there for maybe a couple of days. It helps speed our program. We just did it on the east side of Lake in Niles. We're looking at another spot in Wasco, actually on private land in the fire lanes where we can go in, be able to get a truck down in there to be able to get the weeds off and haul our conveyor down. So if you have spots like that where, if it helps with fire and the greater community stuff,
we're always
Very
looking.
workable. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
and with some of the limited funding we have, but with us doing it ourselves and the rates we can get for rock, we can actually make things happen and do the permitting and do it all ourselves. So we can actually get things done maybe cheaper and easier than going through the whole process for
That's years.
for something like that. Offloading spots, dumping spots. So any of the lake representatives here, we cut weeds. If you know of anybody that wants to take weeds or will let us in there to offload, speeds things along. And that's funny because I had a note on that, and we did that in Niles, and we're lining up one in Owasco too. It's just if we can jump back to that offload spot faster, we get around the lakes faster and everything else. Yeah, so little things like that. If they come up, let us know.
Thank you.
Other things, selfish promotion, I guess, or tree sales out. It's never too early to think about planting trees, whether there's snow on the ground or not. So that's going on now. Last day to orders in April, so we got plenty of time. But what we're doing simultaneous right now is the trade a tree. So working with planning department and an extension in the group like we've done for the last, I don't know how many years, 20 something years. Probably trees are out stacked across the way. You'll see the steady stream of people bringing them in, a couple of people earlier today. And then we give them a little coupon for a free seedling. This year it's a Fraser fir. So people come in, drop their trees off. We give them a coupon. They come into the tree sale when we get the trees, and then we just give them out, and then people take them to plant them. Some people go around and collect trees to come here. We're going to grind them, and then we're going to try and incorporate some of that material now. We got the bark blower in-house, got delivered in the last couple of weeks. That was paid for through the county's support with ARPA money. So we're going to be making compost filter socks. I know we used a bunch of socks up there at the park. I know Adam's requested some socks for an emergency type of trailer to tow around. So we're going to utilize that, plus with our construction projects, just to be able to make socks in lieu of silt fence. Silt fence in some areas just gets blown around, and then it's harder to maintain versus you just sling a sock out there. And we have attachments to be able to make, we'll be able to make 6-inch, 8-inch, 12-inch type of socks depending on the material. It's hard finding a screener these days though for different materials. So we've been trying to contact people to try to find one and rent one, and it's practically impossible. So I don't know.
And we have obviously mountains of the raw product, but you would need a specific either grind level or screened material. That's what we've been struggling with too, obviously with the ash tree inventory that we're processing now every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough one. But yeah, people get the trees, we grind them up, store them down back until we start making it. Weather's been great. We're still constructing stuff, working with Brutus still on the FEMA projects from a few years ago with the flooding up there on Northbrook. They got hammered with some storms up there, and we've been steadily just knocking projects out for them. We got some rock staged. We're just waiting on a permit from the DEC to continue a project along there. And then we helped out with a quick culvert replacement out at Finger Lakes Crossing out behind Home Depot, if you guys are familiar with that. So, and then people are still reporting some of the projects that we worked on: cover crops, reduced tillage practices, and we did oversee the installation of a heavy use area for some horses, along with a graded crossing. I mean, they call them like a Ford crossing. We use some geo-webbing there, and a grass waterway up in the Owasco Lake watershed, and a little drainage ditch remediation project on a farm as well. So things are still rolling. Might start slowing down here soon, but it's our reporting time of year. Any questions? Yes, sir.
You reminded me of something. I think the public assumes that there are accesses to these organized bodies of water, lake or river, whatever. But we too experience difficulty with invasive species removal over across Lake. They did it on my waterfront. And they did a little bit of it down on a boat launch area that belongs to our fire lane. But there's really no place on Cross Lake that the government owns. Last year, we were having problems. We needed the sheriff's attention. So I personally talked to Cayuga County and Onondaga County. And the one problem they were having was where to launch their boats. And I said, are you serious? They were serious. Apparently, there was one private facility over on the river, and they wouldn't let them in. And I guess I naturally assumed they had priority over others. But we were looking around Cross Lake to find places so the sheriff's departments could put their boats in the water, because it wasn't an easy deal. We finally worked some things out. But I just wondered about all the small lakes. You'd think that everyone would have at least one access area but in case that, apparently that's not the case.
No, and Cross Lake Marine has been great with us. That's where we launch our boats and we do the harvesting over there.
Yeah.
Helping out on Dock County and the marinas around here have always been, Jack down at the south end has been great. And then the village, and then even over when we do have the opportunity to hit the lake up there in Cato, the heat can be a little challenging at times. But yeah, access is a challenge.
Mm.
And we used to have offloading spots too, all over the place. People cutting through on the side yard if you can get there. And now we even have mats that we use on our construction projects that we can lay across the lawn so we don't just rut the lawn up. We always go back and fix it, but we can even access differently nowadays. All those spots have been diminishing over the years.
Any other questions for Doug?
So, when you did the cutting up to Little Souls Bay this year, was that down again?
It was.
Was it down less than last year?
I haven't crunched the numbers because I have to sit down with Sean to go over some of it. Sometimes when the guys give me their sheets, it looks like hieroglyphics, you know. I sit there and look and go, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. You know, it's like, well, we have a chance. And then those guys worked so hard, they took quite a bit of time and then the holidays hit. But it was significantly down because we weren't in there as long as we thought we were.
No, you weren't.
Yeah. Yep.
I've got another question.
New operator too, so he may not have hit the same spots that Tim did.
A new machine too, right?
Nope, that new one will be next year. That came in at the end of the season.
Okay.
Yep, came in October.
We had a question about in June. There seemed to be a weed cut die-off in June. Is that possible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends on the type of weed. We find that curly leaf pondweed comes on early, looks really great, and then it dies off, turns brown, and then sits there versus, say, milfoil or something that just grows all season. So people get nervous because they see it coming up, and it's looser material. If we went in and cut that, that just opens a canopy and the sunlight for the stuff will just take off. So we're like, are you sure you want us in here now? Because we may only get here once. And if we cut now, we're not cutting the stuff you want us to cut. We're going to be cutting the something. And that's an early weed. That's usually one of the first ones that come on.
Now, that was one of the questions that was proposed to me. Of course, I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And I said I'd bring it up because they were wanting to know if it was normal, and obviously it is. And that's probably what happened. It happened in June.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We usually see that on the west side of Owasco Lake.
Yeah.
Curly leaf pondweed.
Okay.
Yep, check that out. There's a native that's similar to it, clasping leaf, and it's good for wildlife and everything like that. It's really loose and dense. It's good for rearing fish, but this is the more invasive type.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
I will give you one more shout out, Doug, and I know I probably didn't share it with you. I happened to be, I got a Department of State newsletter about a month ago, and I just opened it up and started leafing through it. And when I closed it, I realized the picture on the front was the most recent bridge that we installed in Cato. So the one just north of Chase Road. So I just kind of chuckled because it was on there. We didn't get any bylines on it for it, but it was on the cover of a newsletter they recently sent out, and it looked great. It was one of the aerial ones, the drone pictures that was taken of it. So that was super. So thanks. Yeah. Solid Waste Management Program.
Just two pretty quick things. Been working, helping the Cayuga Climate Action Group organize a styrofoam recycling collection this upcoming Saturday. So they've got a couple locations throughout the county, northern, central, and southern. So if you have any questions about that, you can ask me about it after. And then the second thing is an update on the local solid waste management plan. So we gave it to the New York State DEC in July. They told us that they would do a kind of an informal review prior to starting the adoption process. But we hadn't heard anything back from them yet. So we're just going to go ahead and start the adoption process. So we're going to open up a public comment period pretty soon, probably by the end of the month. So just a quick update on that.
The comment process starts the time frame for them to have to review it within a certain amount of time. They originally told us, if we do the informal review and we catch some stuff, when we do the final review, you should be really set to go.
But yeah,
nothing happened for.
We were in the queue still, so yeah.
That was right around the time you started, wasn't it? Did that done shortly after? It's been quite a while that you guys had that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question. How is the styrofoam handled other than a landfill or incineration? Is there another?
So the Cayuga Climate Action Group found a manufacturer. I don't know. I can't remember the name, but it's in North Syracuse, and they take the styrofoam, and I don't know what they do with it, but they put it in their products. Apparently, styrofoam is very recyclable, more so than plastics and other materials.
Thanks.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you. Cooperative extension.
Okay, couple things, we've got coming up, one, January 18th is winter, our annual winter crop meeting, which will be at the Senate Fire Department. Theme this year is some topics related to climate change and what farms should be thinking about in terms of that. And there'll be one speaker on potential treatment of manure and what that might do to nutrient composition, but that's kind of early, say that's early stage technology at this point to scale it up. So stay tuned on that. The other thing that we're gearing up for, which is a little farther ahead in 2024, is the North American Manure Expo. Is going to be here in Cayuga County. Yeah, at Patterson Farms.
Will there be a parade?
What's that?
A parade?
We can.
I could see the floats.
Fireworks? Well, you got a fireworks permit?
Take us through downtown Auburn.
That's going to be July 17th and 18th. And I know the event last year was in Wisconsin. It had about 1,000 people that ended up attending that. So it's going to be a combination of, visiting some farms in the area, seeing what they're doing. So farmers in other states will come here and see what our farmers are doing well. Some of the equipment manufacturers will have displays and they have equipment to try out. So as that comes together, we'll share more information. And then the last thing, not so much water quality, but on January 26th, for our friends in Scipio and that end of the county, or anywhere in the county, if you want to take a drive to Scipio, Ryan's going to have a beginning backyard maple syrup workshop.
What kind of workshop is that?
For maple syrup, if you want to get started with maple syrup at the.
Where's it going to be?
At the fire department in Scipio.
No pancakes though?
No.
It's not pancakes, but there is going to be like donuts.
Oh, okay, all right.
Donuts, yeah.
Okay. Yep, fair.
This coffee, I think you ought to do it here every first Thursday of the month.
There is a $10 registration fee.
All right, all right.
I'll pay $10.
I got it.
Coffee and donuts.
Are you serious? All right.
It's less than Starbucks, so I mean, why not?
It's going to be on Saturday, the 27th.
27th.
From 10 a.m. to 12.
That's cool.
Yeah, I can't do that. I'm one of the few people in the world that prefers the log cabin.
How dare you?
Blasphemy.
I know.
I mean, come on.
I take a lot of grief.
And you deserve it.
I mean, not for nothing, but.
Can I ask about the North American manure? I saw that. In fact, I was going to mention that because that's a big deal. Have you been to one of those?
I haven't been out. I don't know if Greg, you went out.
Yeah, years ago.
Okay.
Minnesota or
Yeah,
Michigan
that
or
sounded to me like a huge deal for the community.
It's massive.
And
it'll be the first time that it's held here in New York.
Yes.
Because it's different the way it's really handled here, probably because of the size of the farms. Like out in the West, the farms are so big.
Yeah,
Not the
similar
different
technology.
technology?
A lot of what brought it here is just the environmental stewardship of the local farms,
Yeah.
what we're doing, and
Yeah.
so we were some of the early adapters, the dragline stuff. So it's,
Is there a central
it's
expo
pretty
location for it, or is it dispersed at all the different locations?
each year it's somewhere different.
I'm sorry, at the actual function though, is there?
It's gonna be, most of it's gonna be intense, at one of the, one of Patterson Fields.
Okay,
There'll also be tours to some of the other farms.
Yeah.
They're working with the hotels right now about
And
all of that.
I just actually saw the announcement and saying I wasn't familiar with it at all.
Yeah.
Of course. And I'm assuming, is it true that there'll be things for just the public non-farmers? Or is it more a trade show?
It would be nice if they had some.
Yeah, we could, I don't know in the past if there has been or not, Keith, but we could bring that.
Yeah, that would be.
I see it
next
week. Yeah.
That would be good.
Really geared more towards.
For example, one of the things that's so interesting that we almost know, and my guess is most non-farmers have never seen is a demonstration of how a dragline works.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a fascinating.
Yeah, there will be demonstrations.
Yeah, that kind of
Don't have this.
Yeah. Great, good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's a big deal for us.
Great. Any other questions for Dan? Since Seth and Ed are not here, I'm probably going to skip the next two updates. Unless anybody wants to speak to them. Nope. Can we go to the Lake Association reports? Cayuga Lake.
Yeah, of course, just like my preference for log cabin.
Just keep bringing it.
I have to admit that for me, the December is a time to pay attention to family and not much else. And that doesn't mean a lot of things aren't happening. It means that most of those go over my head. So I just have a few things to mention, but I will. The Watershed Network had a community conference the 1st of December, December 4th, and then Hydrilla session December 8th, 18th, and both of those are on the website for anyone that was not able to attend and has an interest. I was going to mention the PFAS, but we've covered that, so that's good. I don't think there's anyone here from Quio, is there?
I'm the associate member.
Okay, so you're going to talk about Roxy then?
What about Roxy?
Accepting the chair. So that's a big deal because Liz has been there for I don't know how long, for a long time. So she's passing the mantle to Roxy Johnston, who's I don't know her title, but she's water treatment in Ithaca. So that's a big development for the Cayuga Watershed intermunicipal organization. And I think they have a new staff person, right?
Isaiah Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was at the last WQMA.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so that's it for me. Noah and Noah, the Noah algae blooms in December.
In December?
Believe it or not. So the problem solved.
Any questions for Keith? No. Okay. Thank you.
I have a little piece. I know that we don't have Water and Sewer Authority on here anymore, but if anybody missed it, the legislature authorized, I think, $1.2 million to go to the Water and Sewer Authority to do the first phase of engineering for a second source of water coming out of Cayuga Lake. Wait, was that the sewer or the water? I think it was.
Water.
I think it was the water. Yeah. Just in other words, to do the engineering phase for it. That's water, right, Doug?
Water.
Yeah. So they'll put the pipe out from Long Point State Park. I think the actual pumping facility might be, in the park or adjacent to the park, and then go up to Aurora. And I think that has longer term ramifications in a lot of ways if this moves forward. I don't know what it means for the availability of potable water and the need for potable water from the ag community, you know, in that portion of the county. But it certainly is probably one of the most largest steps to take. And of course, doing the engineering and investing that amount of money sort of gives initial legs to something that up to now has just been sort of a theoretical concept. So just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, and even though I took this a lot, I should have mentioned that because that is an issue. One of the questions that I'm not sure what committee it would do. I don't know. One of our committees really ought to look at is the extent to which this group ought to weigh in on the significance of that in terms of wastewater management. Because they're going to dig, and I have no idea why they're not. I've talked to them, and I still don't understand why that's not part of the plan. They're going to run, part of the plan is likely to go down the Honaco Road and pick up people down there. I mean, obviously the plans aren't done. But they're going to dig a trench, and they're going to put this pipe in there. Why they don't put a sewer line in there, I have no idea, because that's a huge water quality issue, of course. You have anyone that's been in that part of the lake knows you have camp after camp after camp after camp. And there's almost none of them are able to have septic systems. They all have tanks. Well, tanks are good until they leak. So it's an opportunity, and we ought to probably look at that and weigh in with the question. It's not our business, I think, tell them what they should or shouldn't do. But it's a legitimate question that should be asked before the public hearing point, at which it would be too late. So I'm not sure what committee it would be. But
I think that's been talked about. I thought they had a
plan
for it or something. I think it's for a sewer line.
They do have
last time I talked to them, it could have changed. But last time I talked, the last time I talked to them, they are not including any wastewater pipes down the Honaco Road or any. But maybe that's changed.
I heard that one first.
I did too.
I've heard that in the past.
And then it changed. It changed, and maybe it's changed again. But it's important for water quality issues. It's really important to be huge. As is the water. A lot of those people take water most people I think call drinking water. But of course, when it's a bloom, you can't wash dishes, you can't wash clothes, you can't wash yourself, and so it is even just the water is a great thing, but for the water quality of sewer.
Sure.
I can touch on that, Keith. I do believe they're re-looking at Honaco Road and additional areas that extend down into Tompkins County along the lake to put on sewer.
Oh, okay. As part of this project?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear which project you were talking about.
I don't think it's part of this project.
We had initially started talking about the water, the second source of water project.
Yes.
That's how the conversation started, yeah.
I think they are connected to one another. The Cayuga Lake Revitalization Project, I think is what it's called. They might be separate. I'd have to look.
Yeah, do please, because last I heard it was separate. The original master plan, of course, included both. But this
yeah, I'll take a look.
They've separated it for reasons that I do not understand even after conversations with them. But that'd be great if you could find that, check that out.
Okay. Any other questions? Cross Lake, Seneca River.
Yeah, thank you. It's a slow time of the year for us relative to holidays. However, in addition to rebuilding the organization and major membership recruitment activities, our focus areas remain flooding and invasive species. You've heard me talk about those at this table over and over again. The Flood Mitigation Task Force that the governor established 2 years ago came out with that report last year. And they've met with our leadership and our membership to talk about some things that they might be doing to address the issues of flooding. Recent conversations with the Canal Corporation is carrying that water. Interesting metaphor, but we were called by them to tell us that they had dropped Cayuga Lake 2 feet in anticipation of this water bolus of water that we've had in the last month or two. And you know, the feeling of our leadership group is that they're being more careful with how they manage water. They're certainly being more careful with how they communicate with us about how they're managing water. And it remains to be seen what the effect might be over the long haul. But we think those conversations have been good as we look around. And there's more to come from that flood mitigation task force. And again, the Canal Corporation is leadership group relative to that. And they're looking for apparently a new full-time hydrologist that they haven't had in a while. And they've, in inconspicuous ways, they seem to be changing their table of organization over there. And they got raked over the coals at a couple of our meetings. You know, knowledgeable engineers who were in the crowd really went after them in a painful way. And I wouldn't want to have been working for the Canal Corporation at that particular time. But again, they're responding positively. Everything so far afterwards has been a good thing from our point of view. So we continue to work on that. The invasive species thing, that's seasonal, as you know, but soil and water in Cayuga County and in Onondaga County have been very, very, very helpful. And, you know, helpful also is the money that's coming from those legislatures to approach this growing problem, especially with chestnuts. You know, it's gotten worse and worse and worse every year. Our organization is involved, a lot of community organizations are involved. Farmers are involved in taking the waste material, and especially the Horrigan family farms. They've been taking a lot of that. So we're anticipating another bad year with it, you know, and we're just going to keep pushing until that's managed in a more comprehensive fashion. I think you can't handle invasive species on a town-by-town basis, you know, especially when they're coming from the west going to the east, you know. So I'll be here reporting on problems with those invasive species in the spring, I'm sure, right, Doug? I know the Soil and Water, Doug's colleagues, you know, over a broader geography in central New York, seem to have a conversation going, and I don't know how. It's not a formal subcommittee of your statewide organization. It's not that, but I think Doug's equivalent to some of these other organizations are trying to figure out some way of getting together to address this in, again, a more comprehensive manner.
Mark and I and others talk about it at some of our statewide meetings.
That's about it. Thank you.
Very good.
Oh, I had one last question. As far as that manure expo, do they have any lapel pins that you know, represent those?
Don't put that in the minutes.
You know, I'm a member of the Onondaga County Environmental Health Council. That's the equivalent of this, because I live in Syracuse. And just for those in the room, please don't talk about out of the room. They never want to talk about manure over there.
Really?
It never. And I'm always, you know, coming from these meetings and seeing the great work that you do here, you know, and it's a centerpiece, and it should be a centerpiece. And, you know, it's just deflected. And every time it comes up, it's just like, we don't talk about manure here. Yeah, I have a smaller number of farms, I think, that you have here. Maybe that's part of it. But they just don't want to address that issue.
I
think
do
it's
want
a
to
real
remind
mistake.
people that we are recorded and we have to put them online now.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah, I retract
Thank you for
my
telling me.
comments about maple syrup.
That's too late. That's ingrained up here.
Yeah.
And Ani said the Cayuga sewer and water projects are separate but being pursued by the same consulting engineering firm.
Okay. I might be a short timer on that.
Any other questions for Carl? Thank you.
Thank you.
Duck Lake.
I'm Dale Powell from the Duck Lake Association. Haven't been there for a while. We had a family problem. Anyways, all we're doing is getting ready for our new herbicide application for this year. And there's probably going to be a little change. All the years that we've been doing weed control, I supply the bolt, I do everything, but I think they're thinking about hiring it completely done by a contractor. We have a new board, and so everybody thinks different. So that's about it. The prices are scary when they talk to contractor versus doing it all yourself. You're getting the crew. It's going to be different. Just the one bid I got yesterday, they give it to me to observe. The bid was just the labor was over $6,000 from that out of that contract.
Well, you could charge them $5,000 and then you'd underbid them.
And I used to do it for nothing. So, but it's hard to get help, to get people to help you. It's almost impossible to get a crew up and then do the paperwork. There's all the permits you got to get. It's a big job. So now it'll be done maybe I'll retire my boat and sit back and watch. So
Interesting.
I'll have more for the next meeting because they got to get it done this month. They got to get it. We have to start this program now.
Contracted, yeah.
That's about it.
Okay.
Any questions for Dale?
Yeah, the question just, Dale, it's good to see you back here. It's been a while, so.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Glad to see it again.
Yeah.
For the group.
My wife had heavy cancer treatments, and she's finally finished them. And to this point now, I can just kind of go away for hours or so. Yeah. So because she's done some strange things when she was under that chemo. That's terrible. It treats you well. I mean, the treatment is tough, but the results are usually pretty good.
So best to her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lake Como, I don't see.
Pat just wanted me to tell you that they're still trying to get their permit to treat their weeds.
Okay. Little Sodas Bay.
Okay, came across a map that shows all the Great Lakes and their depth and their elevation. I always get a lot of questions about flow of the Great Lakes, and it kind of shows you, especially if you take 3 of the first Great Lakes, the elevation changes that much. I've heard that water from Lake Superior, by the time it gets to Lake Ontario, it takes 2 years. And you can see that there's quite a drop to Lake Ontario. And then what surprised me is how quick in the St. Lawrence River, although I think that where the arrow is that says St. Lawrence River has got to be up around Quebec, is my guess. But it shows the dams in here. Right now, our lake is, Ontario is low. When they put the new plan in, they said lower lows, higher highs. They have found that new model isn't working, but what I've been told is going to take 3 to 5 years to make adjustments to that new plan. So we shall see, but we got a lower low right at the moment. We down at the West Barrier Bar on the south side, we got a chain link fence, and it's protecting plants that have been going in there. What they have found that there was actually 3 turtle nesting areas in there. So one of our members, Susan Gately, that some of you met when you were out there and went down to the bar afterwards. She spearheaded a group that went to the town, and they're going to make adjustments to the fence so that I think they're going to cut lower part so the turtles can get into their nesting areas, and also they're going to put up some signage to protect them. And we already talked about the weed cutting. Again, it's down. So my summation is that all the work that we've done is really starting to pay off in terms of drain off, and also the sewers that some of you were talking about that was put in a few years ago. It's taken a few years for it to take hold, but it's pretty good. We had a big problem out, as many of you know, there's an island that you don't see out in Little South Bay. It's kind of out in almost in front of my place, and a lot of people that come in from other areas don't look at maps. And we pulled quite a few off this summer, and so within the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I haven't gotten downtown to talk to the mayor yet, but there's been agencies out there taking measurements. We can't post that as a hazard, but Army Corps of Engineers can. And so I think that's on the docket, and we may have permanent markers on that, which I think is needed. Because there's some huge rocks in there. I know.
We won't ask how.
Well, but it needs to be marked. So that's about all I have for Old South Bay.
Awesome. Any questions? Follow-ups?
Just a comment. We started noticing too, once that sewer line went in and it got finalized, we started to see our weed total started to diminish.
Yeah.
As well. Because it cut off that source of nutrient loading too. Whereas I almost hit that a couple times myself.
There's a huge boulder out there on the west side of it, about in the middle. And I was tubing with the grandkids, and had to go in, take off the prop, get another one, put it on. So it needs to be marked.
Yeah, it happened. Great, thank you. Wasco Lake report.
Sure. We're taking this time of the year just to be strategizing, looking at our mission statement, visions, our strategic plans, continue to do a lot with our education projects, getting into the junior high for presentations and classroom work with I'm having a senior moment. Watersheds, as well as cover crops and rain gardens. We are planning for the Bob Brower Scientific Symposium in March, and we will soon be taking down our tree at the Ag Museum. Our group did get recognized as one of the non-for-profits having a tree up this year, so that was kind of nice. We have, we continue with our monthly newspaper articles. The one that is, I think should be out today, if not tomorrow's, on New Year's resolutions. Our bi-monthly newsletter called The Voice of the Lake is coming out next week. So we'll just have more updates on that. So just a lot of planning and strategizing and identifying our mission and purpose. Good time.
Any questions for me? Anybody online?
Patty's ready. Any more?
Any Alice Lake?
Yes, thank you, and Happy New Year, everyone. We're slowing up a little bit, focusing more in the new year on our membership program. They've got a $4 million legacy membership campaign going. They're looking at hiring some professional fundraising. I think they're doing interviews right this minute. Before the winter, we pulled the research boat out. We hosted the Syracuse mayor to discuss some of the programs that we're doing to see to get their continued support. Met with Cortland County Soil and Water to work on applying to the DEC for 2 grant applications. One to support the stewards that we have in the South End at Scott, and 2 to possibly support macrophyte survey on the south end with the starry stonewort, along with possible matting support in case that is indicated. We are looking at 2 more projects where we will do mitigation on the streams. One of them is on the east side at Lourdes Camp. They're looking to mimic one we've done on the west side. And we've put out the word in the town of Niles. We have a couple lake organizations specific to them with the support, the extended program with the septic and the long Skinny Atlas Lake. And that now that it can include holding tanks, we've put the word out to some of the neighbors there that hopefully they can take advantage of it where it's applicable. And that's pretty much our update. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Not seeing any. Thank you very much. We're going to go on to the partner reports. Regional Planning Board.
No.
DEC Great Lakes Program.
Yeah. No.
Emily's not.
Emily, or no.
No. Okay.
Nope.
Prism report.
Amy, would you like to present?
Yeah, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry to not be there in person. I'm really excited to hear all the talk about weed management and the growing season. Only 4 days into the new year and we're already thinking about that kind of stuff. So that's exciting for us to hear. I'll plug a couple things from the PRISM as well as the Finger Lakes Institute. He's come up a couple times in this session. Just want to note that Isaac Walker's office is at the Finger Lakes Institute. So you can get a hold of him there. We can help get you in touch with him as well. Yeah, again, last month, Sam Beck Anderson presented an overview of the fieldwork plus hydrilla management specifically to Cayuga Lake at the year-end CLWN meeting on December 4th, as you heard them mention earlier. There is a recording of the entire meeting with great discussion, questions from community members, and some great feedback from Rich Ruby at Army Corps of Engineers and some of our other partners. All of that is featured in the recording on CLWN's YouTube page. Our aquatic team wrapped up their fieldwork in November. You've heard us mention that already in the past couple months. So we're still finalizing various grant and partner reports. At the same time, similar to all the conversations happening right now, we are already in preparation for our forthcoming field season. And we're actually in discussion about, excuse me, revamping some of our sampling designs for 2024. Just always good to take a fresh look at protocols and SOPs and ask some bigger questions, make sure we're on the right track. So some really interesting discussions happening at the office. Relatedly, we are beginning coordination plans for all other terrestrial and aquatic programming. That includes watercraft inspection steward program, different monitoring control efforts, and of course our various citizen science programs. I heard the macrophyte survey or a macrophyte survey come up. I just want to offer that Finger Lakes PRISM and Finger Lakes Institute has a lot of materials, instruction videos around our macrophyte survey program. Again, a community science program, but we have a lot of guiding materials that we'd love to share with lake associations and even partner with you on data collection and protocols and things like that. So happy to have more conversations around that. Our hemlock woolly adelgid monitoring program will launch soon. Again, similar, another citizen science program. If you're interested, if you've got some hemlocks in your area that you want to keep an eye on, or you know that they have HWA already, I will gladly put you in touch with the terrestrial program manager, Matt Gallo. And then lastly, after a several-year hiatus, we are excited to host the Finger Lakes Research Conference again. That's on January 31st at Hobart and William Smith Colleges. Many renowned professionals from our region will present their work in varying formats, and that includes most of the staff at the FLI is being asked to contribute something to the conference. So myself included, information around the Watercraft Steward Program, about our water chestnut efforts. I don't want to spoil too much of what you'll see there, but yeah, a lot of good information will be at that conference. Early bird registration rates will go through January 16th, actually, so that's a good chunk of time. I will copy and paste into the chat right now the link, and then Michelle, if you want to feature it in an email later today too, that would be great, or however you want to distribute. That would be much appreciated. But we're really looking forward to it. So make sure you come visit us. I think that's about it for us. But again, really excited about some of the conversations happening today, especially in terms of thinking about the growing season and phenology of different plants and kind of monitoring efforts around our water bodies, and just want to plug ourselves again as a entity that we want to be in some of these conversations as well. So happy to offer some insights wherever needed.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Any, questions out there for Amy? Not seeing any. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Water Hub.
Lexi, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, I have quite a few things actually. Thank you. So there are a few funding opportunities available. So NOAA, currently their Great Lakes Bay Watershed Education and Training federal funding opportunity is open. They had a webinar on December 12th for some information regarding that funding opportunity. They should have a recording of that on their website. And as always, I'll share all these updates that you can send out in an email. There's also a urban community forestry management plan implementation funding available currently for disadvantaged communities. That RFA is due at the end of January 31st. The DEC recently announced that $350,000 in grants were given in the Finger Lakes watershed. So 8 projects were funded through the Finger Lakes Watershed Grants Program. So that is a complement of federal, private, and DEC grant programs, which is outlined in the Great Lakes Action Agenda to aid in the implementation of clean water plans in the Finger Lakes. So we're really excited about that. This was the first round of grants awarded through this program, and we're hoping that this program definitely continues into the future. A summary of the HABs reported during 2023 is now available in the archive section of the Harmful Algal Blooms webpage. The DEC did recently go through a revamp of the webpage, so feel free to check that out. The historical HABs data through 2022 is provided on Open New York, which gives public access to all of the digital data and all of that historical data through the Division of Water Monitoring portal. So again, I'll give all those links so you can visit those. And then lastly, the DEC announced the advance notice of proposed rulemaking to begin developing regulations to implement the new law that expands the number of wetlands regulated by the DEC to protect water quality and wildlife habitat. So that can be viewed in the New York State Register on the DEC website, and comments are asked to be submitted by February 19th. And that was in the email, Michelle, that you shared. So thank you for doing that. Yeah, so that's it for me.
Great. Any questions out there?
If I can just comment that from the Finger Lakes Hub, Tony P gave a presentation at the management council's meeting in December on Owasco Lake and Hams. It was very good. It was excellent to see. And putting together all of that data that Tony presented, it was informative and just good to see. So I just wanted to comment. I thought it was great.
Great.
I don't know if we could ever get him back and to do it again. It was very scientific, a lot of chemistry, but if you were following it, he was commenting on HABs and the various contributors to it and the science, how they're measuring the nutrients and the temperature and such. So it was very, very good.
Great, thank you. Moving down the list, we are at the Management Council.
Correct. Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I'd say an important new task, certainly for the council this year, will be the administration of a nearly $500,000 National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant in partnership with Cayuga County Soil and Water Conservation District, as well as a firm called EA Engineering out of Syracuse. The project proposal scopes out stream stabilization work along the inlet for some of the scoured reaches that are present there. And we'll have our kickoff meeting early next week on the 9th. So I have some preparation to do for that. And you're looking at the Management Council's administrator for this project. So we'll figure it out as we move along. The 9-element plan coordination committee. So the 9-element plan is the clean water plan for Owasco Lake that was completed and approved by New York State. That committee and several of our partners here today are members of that committee. We are working now focused on developing programming to provide more accessible resources to the agricultural community within the watershed. And what we're wanting to do is to develop an Owasco Lake watershed specific agricultural program, similar to what was done within the Skaneateles Lake watershed. And this has been a nice opportunity, I think, for everyone involved to find common ground on a project that would be mutually beneficial for all involved. So this will be submitted in the form of a direct ask to New York State, sort of out of the box, and looking forward to their response and seeing how we perform. So also as part of our continued thrust to focus our monthly feature articles with the citizen on recognition, our January article will spotlight the village of Moravia's involvement in watershed protection in recent years, as well as their planned improvements at their wastewater treatment facility. Our recent acquisition of the Fillmore Nature Preserve in the towns of Summerhill and Sopronius, this is sort of a fun project for me, at least. We're looking at providing increased public access to the preserve for respectful nature study and some limited use cases there by developing a limited trail network, an educational kiosk, and also working with a group out of Cornell University for designing and creating that trail network. So excited about that project, moving that forward this year. During our upcoming January 16th board meeting, we'll have Olivia Green and her colleague Michael McCann from the Nature Conservancy. They'll provide some background info on available programs for flood-prone communities. So Carl, you may have some interest in that presentation. Really looking to work with those looking to take a lead role within their community to be more resilient to climate change. What they'll present on primarily will be buyout programming, where there are opportunities for folks who are inundated with floods to actually have their house purchased. I believe that most people would like to stay in their homes, so that might be a tough sell, but at least it provides an opportunity for some folks who are inundated. During our February board meeting, we have a couple of presenters lined up. Looking forward to Finger Lakes Institute presentation by Dr. Lisa Kleckner regarding the data collected from the water quality monitoring buoy on Owasco Lake and identifying water quality trends over the last year using the buoy. And we'll also host Tim Schneider from Cayuga County Soil and Water, learn more about their various implementation within the watershed over the 2023 and then some outlooks for 2024. And then lastly, concerning the proposed updated watershed rules and regulations for Owasco Lake, the New York State Department of Health, they continue to prepare their necessary documentation for their rulemaking process. And the regulations are currently being further developed through the State Administrative Procedures Act, that's the SAPA process. There's expected to be a public comment period next summer, and then a promulgation of the updated rules regulations as soon as 2025. Although they've sort of continued to move back the goalposts in terms of scheduling on this project. So we'll see ultimately when this project will come to a conclusion, but that's the current state. So that's it. I'm happy to take any questions.
Anybody? No takers?
Just for clarification, Adam, on the January 16th meeting, Olivia for the DEC will talk about that program flooding.
Yes, yeah, that's just flooding buyout. Yeah, for buying out homes that are inundated in floods.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Partners for Healthy Watersheds.
I've just been working with a bunch of different groups, working with Paula on the Bob Brower Symposium. It sounds like that's going to be a good one this year. Manure Expo, a lot of work on that. It's amazing the amount of work in the background that these guys are doing. I don't have anything to do with it, but these guys are putting in a lot of work on that. So thank you for that. Social media, still working on that stuff. Trying to push a little bit more towards charts and graphs and historical data on the improvements that have been made across the state using like the whole farm nutrient balance from Cornell University, just showing the improvements that have been made. Nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus throughout the years with the BMPs that have been implemented. So I'm going to try to keep pushing hard on that so people can actually see real numbers of what's been going on our farm over the past probably 2 years. We've cut the fecal phosphorus output by about 30%, which is just, if you're into that kind of stuff, it's really cool.
We're all supposed to be into that kind of stuff. Yeah. We really are. Sit in the room.
So it's kind of cool. It costs money to do it, but
yeah,
it does work.
Cool. Good. And that's about it. Drink milk, eat cheese, butter, ice cream.
Okay. Where's your milk mustache?
Yeah. It is getting white, so.
That's great. Any questions for Greg? Thank you.
I just want to say I saw a video put out by Cayuga Milk Ingredients that really just kind of tells the story of what they do there, and it was really, really well done. And I would suggest anybody, take a look at it. I think it's on their I'm sure it's on their website somewhere. I think I kind of linked to it through, I think it might have been through Instagram or something, but.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff down there. It's just first class world grade powders and products out there that quality flows everything outside of the powder.
Yeah, it's great.
Good, thank you. The Nature Conservancy.
No.
No.
Liz Moran would like to speak.
Okay, Liz. Go ahead, Liz. Can you hear me?
Hi, yeah, apologies. I must have raised my hand accidentally. No, I've just been enjoying listening in and hearing all the good things that are going on. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Anything we missed out there as we went through the agenda? Keith?
I must apologize. If this was a major thing on prevention, the Cayuga Volunteer Network Salvage 25th anniversary is reported, but this is the 25th anniversary network news. Some of you may have gotten it in the mail. We will bring copies next meeting, but anyone that would like to get their very own coffee before next month. Just actually the easiest way is probably to put the burden on Michelle. Let Michelle know and well, maybe you want or whatever. It's actually very nice. It's very well done. And, so
okay,
I wanted to mention that.
Great, thank you. Someone else? No, that's all. Yeah.
Just to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Doug, thank you very much. Motion to adjourn. Anybody second that? All right, yeah, thank you. All those in favor, vote with your feet. Thank you very much.
Thanks for running the meeting, Doug.